Welcome back. I am still the Red Man, and we're still dealing with the pure ineptitude of just this one side quest. Last we left our plucky hero / wandering serial killer and sorceress Sellen, the most enthralling beauty I have ever laid mine eyes upon. Any remaining vestige of continuity within this quest had soiled the sheets and died, along with my patience. Before we continue, I need to have a brief word on the willing suspension of disbelief.
Listen to me and listen good.
A willing suspension of disbelief on the part of the consumer of a story is necessary for a story to be able to function. See, all stories are fundamentally lies, which is why they're called stories and not IRL. The audience must put their disbelief on hold to some extent in order to go through the story. One does so without even thinking about it when they accept fanciful bull honky as part of the premise of a story. For instance, literally not one grimy soul who ever played Elden Ring said to themselves, "What? Glintstone sorcery? Why, that's obviously fake." We accept things like this in order for the setting of the story to exist. But suspension of disbelief is a two-way street. While a writer has nearly carte blanche to establish any wacky stuff they want for a premise, afterwards that writer must ensure the progression of the story assists the audience in suspending their disbelief and rewards them for doing so. Internal continuity must be maintained because every contrivance, incongruity of characterization, and strain on logic tests the suspension of disbelief. And eventually, by either too great a number of tests or a single too severe test, that suspension of disbelief will fail. And once suspension of disbelief is broken, there is no restoring it. It is gone forever.
Just like my patience is now.
Everyone is going to have a different threshold for when their suspension of disbelief breaks. And I'll admit that mine is probably reached a bit quicker than most, because I am an angry, salty butthole. I bring this up to say that, in spite of that, Sellen giving the Tarnished her soul with zero accompanying instruction on what to do with it absolutely, definitively breaks the suspension of disbelief. It is impossible for a thinking creature to take this story seriously any longer, and if someone was to claim the contrary, that they maintained their suspension of disbelief through that, they would be wrong. Such a person did not maintain their suspension of disbelief. They actually never suspended their disbelief in the first place because they are simply too stupid to ever disbelieve anything, and I kind of hope they get trampled by a yak.
Justifiably so.
From Software specifically has a unique and awful habit of breaking my suspension of disbelief, and also immersion besides, in how they just don't include large chunks of the plot progression and leave the player to fill in the blank space themselves. This plucks me right out of my audience seat and plops me into the writer's chair. I am no longer trying to play along with a story being told to me. I am being tasked with figuring out what scattered bits of plot that I have can be strung together to make any sense. To be clear, not only am I no longer suspending my disbelief, instead I am now actively looking for stuff to disbelieve in order to figure out how it can make any sense. Only what I'm finding out is that, the more one thinks about it, the more that stuff doesn't make any sense at all thanks to Miyazaki's dog-ass writing.
Good job.
And that is why I didn't notice or think of many dubious elements of this plot while initially playing it, but later realized them after the incompetent writing broke my suspension of disbelief. By way of example, what even was Sellen's plan at the start of this quest? Sellen astral projects herself across the continent, ostensibly to find help, which is fine, but she projects herself into a basement hidden in the ass middle of nowhere, guarded by a mad pumpkinhead. Sellen, sweetheart, it doesn't seem like you're trying to find help. It looks like you're trying to actively hide. Why not just project yourself straight to someone to get the help? Well, Redman, Sellen is up against the witch hunters like Jaren who are working for the Rayalukar Academy, which is controlled by the Carrion royal family, which includes Princess Ronnie. Since she's up against all that, she can't just get any loser to help. Sellen is using the Mad Pumpkinhead to filter scrubs with skill issues.
Wow. Okay, that's actually a good point.
You're thinking, Strawman, and I like that. But there is a problem with what you just said. Sellen being patient and picky about finding help only makes sense if Sellen believes she has all the time in the world to get that help. And Sellen obviously knows she does not have that kind of time, since Sellen is the one to tell the Tarnished that someone is looking to kill her. Thus, Sellen should be absolutely desperate to find help as quickly as possible. Sellen taking her sweet time with anything under these circumstances only makes sense if all of the following three things are true. 1. Sellen knows for a fact that Jerry will not come kill her while Radon is alive. 2. Sellen is somehow able to know for sure whether Radon is alive or not. And 3. Sellen somehow knows that Jerry is, for some reason, the only witch hunter on the entire continent, and the Academy wouldn't send anyone else to kill her.
That's very unlikely.
So that's one significant failure of the plot that you see when you start to actually think about things that the writers of this failed abortion clearly didn't. Let's see how many more we can find. Dare I bring up that the game clearly, and probably accidentally, establishes that Sellen can physically interact with objects while astral projecting? That's right, check out all these books in her hidey hole. Books obviously can't be read if you can't physically turn the pages. Think that's too insipid of a nitpick? Fine, I'll do you one better. Sellen physically hands the Tarnished the key to Lusat's prison, as can be seen with this animation right here. There it is, clear as day. Now, if Sellen can effectively teleport and just touch things, the hell does she need my help for? The hell could she ever need any help for? But let's be real, do I think the devs intended to establish that Sellen can touch things while astral projecting? No, I do not. But I'm simply observing what the game has shown me, since I am told so frequently by fanboys that I have to observe the gameplay and pay attention to stuff like this to get the story. Because, you see, actually telling me the story is hand-holding. Well, I'm observing the game now because my suspension of disbelief has already been shattered like your mother's butt virginity, and my observation is that the beef-witted soy bugs who made this game should have paid more attention to what they were doing.
How embarrassing.
But it's not fair to exclusively pick on Sellen. There is plenty of mental disability to go around in this plot, even though we're only halfway through it. Jerry, my man, what the hell are you doing? You captured Sellen, who you believe to be insanely dangerous, chained her to the wall in some out-of-the-way ruins, then left her completely unattended and able to cast sorceries in order to go indefinitely babysit zombie Radon.
Why?
The most obvious why to ask being, why not just kill Sellen? Well, because then the plot couldn't happen. But let's say that we were to, on behalf of the befuddled clowns who wrote this, contrive a reason for Jerry to not kill Sellen. Why leave her alone, Jerry? Radon is lumbering around a wasteland eating corpses, not actually hurting anybody. Just let him have at it for the time being and solve more pressing matters. And if Jerry must leave to deal with Radon, why wouldn't Jerry arrange for somebody, or several bodies, to guard Sellen? And if Jerry somehow couldn't do that, why wouldn't he do something that would prevent Sellen from casting sorceries in his absence? You know, so that she can't astral project herself across the map or body surf.
Fucking shit for brains!
This game wants us to accept, at face value and without any questions, that Jerry couldn't kill Sellen, had to leave her in order to deal with Radon, could not arrange for others to guard Sellen, could not arrange for Sellen to be held at a more secure location, and could not take any measures to keep Sellen from astral projecting.
That is such horseshit.
Listen, the point is that a quest like this exists in a video game to tell a story in that video game, yet the logical progression at every stage of this story fails to a degree that ranges from significant to catastrophic. This leaves any sense of continuity in total shambles and the story objectively broken. You could try to defend this abortion, but you would be wrong to do so.
Deal with it.
But we have a quest to finish up. Last we left our plucky wandering murderer and sorceress Sellen, absolute dime, Sellen had just got herself a shiny new body. All that's left to do now is head to the Grand Library of the Rhea Lucaria Academy in order to have ourselves a final showdown and a satisfying resolution for this quest. I'm sure. Once we get to the door, we can either choose the red letters on the ground to fight with Jerry against Sellen, or choose the golden letters to fight for Sellen against Jerry. So let's assess these endings in that order. First, if you choose to fight with Jerry against Sellen, you kill Sellen, you monster, get her clothes, Jerry thanks you for the help and gives you an upgrade item, and the quest is over. That all seems to make total sense, right?
Well, there is one thing.
In-universe, for the Jerry ending, the following events happened in the following order. The Tarnished took possession of Sellen's soul. Jerry told the Tarnished that Sellen was a dangerous rogue witch responsible for several deaths due to her crackpot behavior. The Tarnished did not give Sellen's soul to Jerry, thus very clearly in that moment choosing to side with Sellen. The Tarnished put significant effort into getting Sellen a new body for her soul, very deliberately supporting Sellen. Then, having received exactly no new information about anything, the Tarnished decides to help Jerry kill Sellen.
For no reason!
This is a bit of a nitpick, but because From Software didn't include an option to just fork over Sellen's soul to Jerry at the Witchbane Ruins, they accidentally made the Tarnished canonically schizophrenic. After the Tarnished willfully put considerable effort into aiding Sellen, even after Jerry told him that Sellen is super dangerous, the Tarnished flipped a 180 for no discernible reason. If From Software just really did not want to let the player choose to give Sellen's soul to Jerry earlier in the quest, then they should have at least had Jerry waiting at the door to the library to make one last, stronger and more specific pitch to the Tarnished for why Sellen had to die. Then the Tarnished's choice to betray Sellen could conceivably have some in-universe sense behind it. But From Software has a vendetta against things like dialogue, cause and effect, and continuity, so...
Fuck it!
Now, if the Tarnished chooses to take Sellen's side, he and Sellen fight and kill Jerry, and Sellen stands triumphant in her goal of usurping control of the Rhea Lucaria Academy. Sellen is in the center of the room, and baddie Queen Renala is off in the corner confused. Sellen graciously thanks the Tarnished for their help, says they'll make a great Elden Lord, fully intends to support the Tarnished as Elden Lord, and that he's always welcome at the Academy. Well, every stage of this quest that led to this point might have been utter Down syndrome, but this ending is actually
excellent.
The player's actions and, most importantly, decisions in this quest have had a concrete effect upon the world and decided the fate of the Rhea Lucaria Academy and also even the Carrion royal family. This is an excellent way to draw the player in and get them invested in this game and its world. I cannot wait to see what impact this will have on the world going forward, what influence this will have on the ending, depending on which ending it even is. Will Sellen and her students still support the Tarnished if he's looking to become the Lord of Frenzied Flame? What will Princess Ranni have to say about the Tarnished overthrowing her dear mother? This is all great. So we reload the area and Renala is simply back in charge and Sellen is a ball of faces off in the corner.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
No, seriously, what the fuck? Also, how the fuck and why the fuck? Can anyone explain to me what in the blue hell happened completely off screen here? No, you cannot. But Reddit has some theories, aka pure fanfiction, Everything from Sellen playing with the primordial glintstone current caused this to happen to her, to these balls o' faces are actually seeds of stars comprised of multiple sorcerers, to Ronnie did it, LOL, to this is actually a form of enlightenment. No, seriously, some retard unironically posted that on the internet. Look at him and laugh. The theory that playing with the primeval current caused this makes no sense given what we've seen. Masters Azur and Lusat were both explicitly doing the same primeval current tinkering that Sellen was wanting to do, and neither of them were balls of faces. Furthermore, if this theory is to be believed, this plotline really cannot decide if Sellen is some dangerous genius or total idiot. If Jerry is to be believed, Sellen is a talented and dangerous enough sorceress to kill very many other sorcerers and also body surf. And we've seen her astral project and body surf. But then the game shows us Sellen acting like a total chromosome salad with how she handles her own soul, explained in the previous video as moronic to the point of derangement, and she also apparently falls prey to such amateur hour embarrassments as absorbing too much power.
What the fuck is this shit?
That seed of a star theory is nonsense. The item description reference says they're comprised of several sorcerers, yet this ball o' faces is clearly just Sellen. It also doesn't explain how or why Sellen turned into a ball of faces. The idea that Ronnie did it in retaliation for Sellen usurping Ronnie's mother, Queen Renala, is kind of believable. But if Ronnie did it, why does Ronnie never bring any of this matter up with the Tarnished? Christ on a crutch, even if Ronnie didn't do it, I feel like she should still be quite cross with the Tarnished that they helped Sellen usurp Renala. But Ronnie never mentions that we nearly killed her mother for the second time because the continuity in the world building in this game is absolute piss.
Out my ass!
And I'm not going to dignify that enlightenment hogshit with a response. Ultimately, what is supposed to have happened here is a moot point, because rule number 2, it's not in the game, so it doesn't count. What actually happened here is that we encountered the patented From Software plot gap. We were going through the logical progression of a given plot in at least some accordance with cause and effect, then we hit the plot gap. And like the time skip episode of Futurama, we just blinked forward in time, plopping out on the other end of the plot gap with no idea of what happened in the plot gap, leaving us baffled and annoyed. In this specific case, the plot progressed until Sellen won, and then skip right to Sellen lost, LOL, with absolutely no idea of how we just went from A to C. There could have been something written into this gap that would have bridged the gap and justified the whole thing, but there wasn't, because fuck you. The player is left to make shit up on their own in order to fill in the fucking plot of a $60 game.
Holy shit!
I defy anyone to defend this shit. But omitting whole chunks of critical plot progression is the From Software style of story.
Shut the fuck up!
See rule number 5. Stylistic choices are not a valid excuse for objectively terrible storytelling. A plot must maintain basic fucking cause and effect throughout its progression, or else it is a dog-ass plot. And do you want to know the worst of it? Because of this asshole ending, all that stuff I said earlier about the player's choices mattering and having an impact on the game world is completely undone. Nothing you did mattered. Your choice wasn't even a joke, because even jokes have meaning. Regardless of what you chose, Sellen is effectively dead, Jerry is never heard from again, and the status quo at the academy is maintained. The whole quest was a colossal waste of time, just absolutely pointless. It's kinda making me feel like a dickhead for going on about this fetid garbage for 2 videos. So why not make it a 3rd? The Red Man has some shit to summarize and a point to make, so I'll see you next time. Take care until then.